You ready?
I'm ready to know.
This is the Ponca City interview at the 101 Ranch people today.
Old Time
Uh,
Association.
the Old Timers Association of the 101.
That's the way it is.
Uh,
Oh, by the
this
way,
is the 19th of August 1977. Uh, I'm Mary V. Roberts, interviewing for the Oklahoma Historical Society and the Living Legends. My interviewee is Mr. Mike Sokoll.
so cold.
Soul
You can read
Coal.
better than that.
Sokoll. Sokoll. Sokoll.
So cool.
Oh, let's let him pronounce that word correctly for you.
So cool. So cool.
Thank you. Uh, I noticed on the roster here that he is listed as a trick roper of the show from 1909 to 1915. We're going to start a little further back than that with Mike, if he doesn't mind, and let him tell us something about his early day, where you were born, something of your parents, and uh, your original interest in the 101. All right, Mike, we're ready for you now.
Let me have this thing. I was born in Hungary.
Back there.
Okay. I was born in Hungary in 1894, and I'm the only rascal I imagine that the whole world celebrates my birthday because I was born January 1st, 1894, quarter after 12, midnight. So I don't believe anybody beat me too much on that. I stayed with my grandparents in Hungary. My dad and mother had come to the United States, taken up residence in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, steel town. 1912, they sent for us. And we came over aboard a German steamer, the Kaiser Wilhelm de Gross. We landed in Ellis Island, and from there we went to Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Oh, I went to school over there, Hungarian school and regular school. And when I was, when you're 16 years old in Pennsylvania, or 15 years old, when you think you know everything, why, it's time for you to go to work. So they put me in the steel mill, and that was too hard for me, so I quit. I just worked there half a day. And I took up delivering telegrams for the Western Union. One day I happened to notice a one sheet. Well, we didn't know what the one sheet was at that time. But anyway, it's advertisement 101 Ranch Wild West Show at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's 64 miles away. Of course, those days we didn't have no automobiles. We didn't have anything, so I hopped the freight train that night and I went to Pittsburgh. I wanted to be a cowboy. Wanted to be cowboys and Indians. So I got on the freight train, went to Pittsburgh. Well, the show was planned at East Liberty, a suburb of Pittsburgh. Oh, when I got off the train and got to the showgrounds, I was scared to death. I didn't know what it was all about. Cowboys and Indians walking around, something I never saw in my life. And all the bands and everything going on, and I was scared. So I climbed on a flat car and got under a wagon. When I woke up, we was at Dayton, Ohio. Trainmaster found me over there. He got me off the car, and said, where you from? I said, from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And he said, you hungry? I said, yeah. So we went over to went over to the cook shack, and he told the cook to get me something to eat and put me to work. So the first job I had was the 101 Ranch. I finally connected with the 101 Ranch. The first job I had was peeling spuds in the kitchen, helping the cook. And till we got out, I worked on the job, helping out around the kitchen till we got out to the ranch, winter quarters. They put me at some odd jobs on the ranch, but when I have a chance to see a piece of string or rope or something, I tie a knot in it, try to spin the silly thing. One day Mexican Joe Barrera was coming by, and he was the world's champion roper, roped 6 horses with a Mexican Niguez rope. He watched me a little bit. He said, you like to learn? I said, yeah. He said, I can teach. Wait a minute. So he went over, got one of his ropes and brought it over, and he showed me how, and so we started. And I regret that I ever started to be a trick roper, because all that winter we was in a cow barn. He was sitting on a bale of hay smoking Mexican cigars from 8 o'clock in the morning till noon, and from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 6 o'clock we spinning rope. My arm was so tired I couldn't hardly hold the rope. He said, no, he said, you keep on, you build up your muscle. So about middle of the winter, he went over and told Mr. Joe, he said, Shorty, he not going to do chores no more. Shorty, he go out trick roper with the show. Mr. Joe told him, it's all right with me, whatever you want to do, Joe. So I went out that spring when we left the ranch. I got to ride a Pullman. I was a performer. So we had a little horse. I had a little horse, and we didn't have a name for him. So Joe was teaching me how to ride for roping and so on. So he was spinning a loop over there, ready, waiting for me, and he'd give a signal, and I'd get this horse galloping. I started hollering, go, 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 go. So we finally wound up calling the horse Go Go. And one of my tricks was where we was practicing on the ranch, while a piece of paper blew across in front of Go Go. I was spinning the rope, riding toward Joe, and spinning a little loop, and horse reared up, and I fell off of him backwards, still spinning the loop, land on the feet. Joe started clapping his hand. He said, oh, that's a good trick. Do it again. I said, do it again. Hell, I didn't know how I'd done it in the first place. He said, go practice it. So that become one of my main feature tricks, is falling off a horse backwards, spinning the rope. Oh, we went out, we toured the States a couple of years, and we toured down in 1913 to Mexico. It's when Mexican dons over there made a bet with Mr. Miller that Joe couldn't, or that Bill Pickett couldn't bulldog one of their Mexican bulls. And they made the bet. And Mr. Joe called Bill up to him, and he said, he explained to Bill the situation. He said, Bill, if you can bulldog that bull, he said, even try. He said, you'll have a home with us the rest of your life as long as you live. So Bill looked at Mr. Joe and he said, Mr. Joe, I'll either bulldog him or die trying. So he got on Spradley, his horse, and rode in the arena, and they turned the Mexican bull in there. And Bill rode up alongside of him and had him down on his knees and ready to flop over. The Mexicans saw in the grandstand that he's going to succeed with him. They started throwing rocks and bottles and everything, and one of the rocks hit Bill on the head, and he knocked him unconscious. And the cowboys rode in and chased the bull away from Bill, and I and Chester Byers, Leonard Stroud, and Hank Darnell run over there and got Bill and took him over the sideline, give him first aid, and he was all right. He snapped right out of it. But the Mexicans lost their bet because Bill had the bull down. If they hadn't hit him and knocked him unconscious, he'd have had him. So we left the show, left Mexico after that, and come on back to States. The following year, we prepared to make a tour for Europe, a European tour, our second European tour, by the way,
About what year was that?
in 1914.
Now, you made one in the 19...
We made one in 1912.
I forgot.
Yeah,
Now,
1912.
your first show, it really began about 1905, didn't it?
1905, but I wasn't with them at that time. I didn't go on the show till 1909. So I had Mr. Reed, Jim Reed, the saddle maker at the ranch, make me a saddle so I had an old R.T. Fraser saddle and a saddle, a silver-mounted saddle that I had made in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Silver?
Or silver-mounted saddle, yeah, I had made in Cheyenne, Wyoming, El Fresno, or Miles City, Montana. That's where it was made, from El Fresno. So Mr. Miller ordered that for me. So when we got into England, we played Berlin, Germany, and Budapest, Hungary, and different parts of Swedish country. We was playing Stockholm, and we got a command performance from the Queen of England. She had several other queens from Denmark and Netherlands and so on visiting her. So we had a command performance from Stockholm to appear at the Wembley Stadium for 6 weeks. So we folded up in Stockholm, and we went to London. We all that night, when we got there, all that night, the cowboys and cowgirls were all shining their silver-mounted outfits and everything to make a nice appearance for a grand entry. So the following afternoon at 1:30, we made the grand entry into Wembley Stadium, the arena. And it was beautiful setup. The Queen King and Queen of England was there, and the Queen of Denmark, Netherlands, and Sweden, and all of them were there, royalty. So we made the grand entry, and when we got out, this is the first time in the history of a show that we had to go back 3 times. We got 3 standing ovations going in there and parading around and back out. So when we come out the 3rd time, then we change into our work outfit, work saddles and stuff, and went on about started the show going. So we was there for a week and a half, and on a Thursday afternoon about 4 o'clock, about 4 o'clock, 2 military men rode in the arena, and one of them was a lieutenant, a British lieutenant, and the other one was a bugler. So they rode in there. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they bugler sounded attention, and the show stopped. And then this lieutenant rode up in the arena, and he made an announcement. He made an announcement that war had just been declared between the Commonwealth of Great Britain and the Imperial Government of Germany. German war had been declared in 1914 between German government and the Commonwealth of Great Britain. So we closed the show. That stopped the show. Then the second day after that, why we were told by the Quartermaster General's office from Britain, British Army, that all our equipment, horses, wagons, tents, spurs, saddles, everything was confiscated. All our animals, everything, for war effort, British government. So we signed up, we turned in everything, and we made a list of everything and the evaluation on it. I had this new L First No Saddle, brand new. Only thing by the time I had it on the horse and rode it was the time we made grand entry into the Wembley Stadium. And after that, I put it back in the shipping bag, and that's where it was. So we made a list of everything, and about 2 years later, I got a check from the British government and a list of the items, and everything that I turned in was on the list except the saddle. The L First No Saddle wasn't on the list. So Mr. Miller wrote to England to find out about it, and the Quartermaster General wrote back and said that it's too bad that anything like that happened, but he'd do everything in his power to get that, find out where that saddle went to. But we never heard from it anymore. So we got back to the States on the cattle boats, stock boats, and we took the stock over in. Got back to the ranch. Of course, the troopers didn't have their jobs. We didn't have no show. And some of them drifted into rodeos, and some of them drifted in the other Wild West show, and so on. And I joined Butler Brothers Wild West show out of St. Joe, Missouri. We toured the St. Joe and over to St. Louis and Effingham, Illinois, and all through that neck of the woods. And finally, we played Indianapolis, and finally ended at Effingham, at Seymour, Indiana. Of course, the faces weren't familiar, the people weren't familiar. The people you were working for was strangers to you as far as you was concerned. And show people are the funniest people on earth. They're the most jealous people there is. If your act was good, better than theirs, well, they don't want to have nothing to do with you. You were showing them up. Of course, I had this act of falling off a horse backwards, spinning a rope, which they didn't have, and that didn't set good with them. But I went through the same routine I went through with the 101. So I was walking down the street in Seymour next morning, after we got in. A recruiting sergeant was standing there. I was kind of dejected anyway. He said, "Cowboy, where's your horse?" I said, "It's out there on the lot." He said, "No, it isn't." He said, "Come on upstairs and I'll show you some horses." So I went up with him. He showed me pictures of the 2nd Cavalry, all up in blue uniforms and all that stuff. I joined the Army. So I got up to this saddle, by the way, that I had Mr. Reed make for me. When we got back to the ranch, I asked Mr. Reed, I said, "You got a saddle for me?" He said, "Yeah, it's right back there on the rack." So I got the saddle, and that's the only saddle I had left. So I got that saddle. Of course, I used that in the Wild West show with Butler Brothers. And after I joined the Army over at Seymour, why, they sent me to Jefferson Barracks, Missouri for induction. I had the shafts on one shoulder and the saddle on the other shoulder and the spurs in the hand and the ropes on the saddle. I walk up to Jefferson Barracks, up the sidewalk, and there were 2 rows of rookies on each side of the sidewalk lined up. And there was a sergeant up there. I didn't know who he was at that time. He was giving them instructions on what to do and all that stuff, you know. There was all recruits. So I just set this saddle down and I stood there and listened a while. Finally he stopped talking. He's looking me up and down, and he stopped talking. He motioned for me to come up. I picked the saddle up, went up to where he was. He's in front of, up the porch of the administration building. Receiving barracks, they call it. So I went up there and laid this saddle down, and he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Oklahoma." He said, "What with the saddle and leather pants and stuff?" I said, "I just quit a Wild West show at Seymour." And he said, "What troop you going to?" I said, "Troop F." He said, "Well, I'm Sergeant Bostock, Andy Bostock." He said, "I'm from Troop G. I'm down here to take these rookies back to Ethan Allen." He said, "What'd you do on the show?" I said, "Well, I'm trick roper with 101 Wild West show." He said, "All right, you're acting corporal now. You help me take these rookies up to Ethan Allen." I said, "Where's Ethan Allen?" He said, "In Vermont." So a lieutenant came up. I didn't know who he was then. Still don't know who he was, what his name was, but he came up and he talked to Andy a little bit. Finally he came over to me. He said, "What troop you going to?" I said, "Troop F." I didn't know sir or nothing else. He was just another guy to me. I didn't recognize no bars or anything else. It was all different. And he said, "What are you going to do with that saddle? You can't take that to the cavalry. They don't use stuff like that." You said, "You want to sell it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you take for it?" I said, $50. I don't know why I popped off $50, but that's the first thing hit my mind. $50. He said, "Okay, I'll buy it." So he peeled off 20 and 2 20s and a 10 and handed it to me. He took the saddle. Well, I went on to Ethan Allen, and of course I had my childhood sweetheart in Pennsylvania, and so I sent for Emma from Ethan Allen to come up. We're going to get married. So she came up to Burlington, Vermont. Burlington was Ethan Allen is outside of Burlington, Vermont, Fort Ethan Allen. So she came up, and I got her in a rooming house over there. And we thought we were going to have a big secret thing. By that time, I was regimental bugler.
That was
Emma Sokoll. That's my name, my wife.
her first name.
Takach. Emma Takach. Takacs. Takach. So she came up, and we thought it was going to be a big secret for us. So we went over to the judge's office, went up to the clerk's office at Burlington, and we got a marriage license. I still got it home. And then we went right across it. Upstairs on the second floor was the courthouse, you know. So we went over to the judge's office. We got married. Well, when we went by the steps, looked down the street, I saw somebody down there with a blue uniform, pants on, see? And of course, it was all wearing blues and everybody walking around military outfit. So I didn't pay attention. After we got married, we started down the steps. Then I saw what was up. Had my whole squad was out there all lined up with cross sabers, and they commandeered a streetcar. The streetcar was sitting in front of the courthouse. We got down there, we went through under our sabers, right to the streetcar.
What year were you married, Mike?
1917.
1917.
Yeah.
Right in the war.
Well, no, before, that was 1950 when this happened,
1950.
1950 when this happened, though. But that's where we were married, because I went to Mexico from there. So anyway, we got in the streetcar, and they took us to Ethan Allen over the fort. And there was the quartermaster's office. They had a reception for us, a wedding reception. So then, about 2 weeks later, I had permanent leave, temporary leave of absence. So I went back to Ethan Allen, and there was 2 rows of trains over there. And I asked Sergeant Kay, our sergeant, I said, Kay, Sergeant, what's going on? He said, where's your wife? I said, she's over at the rooming house. He said, well, I said, I'll pack your stuff on the train. You go back there and get her on the train for Pennsylvania, because we're going to Mexico. So I went down, and I had the lady that run the rooming house take her down to the depot and get her on the train for Pennsylvania. So, and we went down to Fort Clark, Texas. Fort Clark, if you remember, is in a lot of John Wayne's pictures, Western pictures. It was the main fort down
Right
in that
border
at that
there.
time, right on the border. So we made several sachets through Mexico, looking for Villa, but we never did see him.
He'd always just gone, hadn't he?
Yeah, always just gone, or he's up in the hills looking at us, but
That's
we
right.
didn't know.
Could have been.
Yeah, our peons wouldn't tell us anything.
No.
So while we was at the border, while my enlistment was up during that time. So I came one day we was in headquarters, and Colonel Rivers sent for me. Orderly come down, he said, Colonel wants to see you at the office. So I went up and knocked on the door and saluted. I said, you sent for me, sir? He said, I sure did. I got a problem. I said, what is it, sir? He said, how in the hell did you get in the Army? You're not a citizen of the United States. I said, well, I thought I was a citizen after my father, sir. He said, no, you was born in Europe. You wasn't born in the United States. So he said, well, we'll fix that. So he called the lieutenant in, and he told him, he said, I want you to ride to Uvalde, to the immigration office, and I want you to get a citizenship paper made out for Mike Sokoll, bring it back here so I can sign it. So I guess I'm the only rascal who got a citizenship paper made out by Uvalde, Texas, and signed by the commanding officer of Fort Clark, Texas. I got it in the safe deposit box. So anyway, I got my discharge, and he said, now, Sokoll, he said, we're in war, that we're going to be in war. 1917. He said, well, all you guys that's recently discharged will be picked up first for instructors and things. See? So he said, why don't you re-enlist? And he said, I'll give you 60-day leave, and you're going back to Pennsylvania, to your home, and in 60 days meet us at Fort Ethan Island, because we're going to be back there. I said, all right, sir. So I signed up. I took 60-day leave. So we got back to Ethan Island. After we got back to Ethan Island again, they didn't have no use for cavalry in Europe, so in France. So we was made provisional field artillery, the 76th Field Artillery, 3rd Division. So we were sent down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and they had some pine logs cut down there, looked like cannons, and they put them on wagon wheels, and we could push them around. Finally, they sent us to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, School of Fire. Went down there to learn the fundamentals of French 75s, operation of them. And after we left there, we went to Hoboken, was sent to Hoboken, New Jersey, and overseas. So we landed in France, and while we was in France, of course, I was in several different major engagements. Chateauguay, Verdun. I got a Verdun Medal of Verdun.
You did?
My name is written in the Book of Gold of the Soldiers of Verdun. We landed in France, and while we was in France, of course, I was in several different major engagements. Chateauguay, Verdun. I got a Verdun Medal of Verdun.
You did?
My name is written in the Book of Gold of the Soldiers of Verdun, at Verdun, France. I was private first class at that time, serial number 1,550,361.
And the name of your outfit was?
Battery A 76 Field Artillery, 3rd Division.
You haven't got it?
Can't. So we came back from France, and of course I went to work in Pennsylvania. I operated streetcars for a while. I was a streetcar motorman. At that time they had motorman conductor all at one because you paid your coin when you got on. So I operated a streetcar, and wife was working for Bell Telephone Company, Pennsylvania Bell. She had been working for him. She's ready for retirement almost. So her retirement was coming up in 1949. Well, it was coming up. They wanted her to stay 2 more years, or the supervisor wanted her to stay 2 more years. 3 more years to get her 30 years in. And I said, the heck with 2 more years, 3 more years. I said, take your pension now. You got 27 years service. Take your pension now. Let's go to Oklahoma. So daughter and I, we went down to the daughter Irene. We went down to a junkyard over there and bought a running outfit of a Model T Ford. And we drug it up behind I had a Plymouth, and we drug it up behind the old 25 Plymouth, and 35 Plymouth. We took it up to the garage, put it in there in back of our house, and we started building us a house trailer. And the police, they'd come through there, and they'd say, Mike, what are you going to do with that hunk of junk? Why don't you take it down to Gloucester's? I said I just brought it up from Gloucester's. Oh, a few days later they come by, it began to take shape. And hey, it's getting better. You get that finished, we want to borrow it, go fishing. The heck with you, go on, get out of here, we're busy. So Irene drilled the holes, and I put the metal screws in and stuff. We made us a house trailer. So in 1949, while we took off from Pennsylvania, went to visit our boy. He was at Seattle, Washington, working for United Airlines. And my daughter-in-law kept writing us all the time that we were, that they had a lot of rain in the wintertime at Seattle, but they didn't have no snow, not much snow. We got there, they had the biggest snowstorm they had in 50 years. They this side of a hill. We got down there and pulled in. We could never pull out till spring, till March, before we could get out of there. So we loaded up, and Irene was taking beauty course. They only had 2 children, Irene and Paul. Paul's in Massachusetts. Irene passed away in '64 in Ohio. So we decided to come on to Oklahoma. We left there in March. Well, we got to Mojave, California in the evening, and I told Emma, I said, well, we're going to pull off here. I pulled off at the depot. Wasn't nothing there but about 3 houses in the depot. Pulled off, and so I told them, I said, here's where we're going to stay, 'cause we'll make supper. So they started cooking supper. In the morning, I got in the car, and we headed toward Las Vegas. That was coming across toward into Arizona, over Las Vegas, Nevada. So I started out and pulled up the road about 3-4 miles, began to steam. I wonder what the dickens had water. I took water and put water in the radiator. It didn't need it, but it was steaming. We both finally drove on up the road and come to a filling station about halfway between there and Las Vegas. And I drove in there, and a guy walking around, running around with a torch, a acetylene torch in his hand. Motor was steam going all over like a Stanley steamer. So I pulled up and stopped. He said, can I do something for you? I said, yeah. I said, I'm low on water, I guess. I need some water. I run out of water. He said, where'd you stay last night? I told him down Mojave. He said, there's nothing the matter with your car. It's froze up. He said, just leave that hood down on there and wait about half hour and it'll thaw out. It's ready to go. So we did. We waited and it thawed out. Then we took off for Las Vegas. So we got up to Las Vegas and went on down across the Boulder Dam in Arizona. So we pulled off about 6-7 miles, I guess, in Arizona, and found a nice place over there. It looked like a nice place to camp. So I pulled off in there. I said, all right, you girls get supper. Here's where we're going to spend the night. Oh, they got supper. So about dark, I guess, it was just getting good and dark. I told Irene, I said, I'm going out to get me a package of tobacco. I had it in the car. So I went out there and with a flashlight, got the tobacco, locked the car, and when I turned around, the light had a couple eyes looking at me over there in the brush. So I sidled up to the house trailer, and I told Irene, I said, honey, hand me a pistol. So she handed me my gun. I had a .38 police positive Colt. She had it to me, and I held this light on these 2 eyes, and I took an aim, and fired. He jumped about that high, took off, gone. So I went in the trailer and took the gun apart and started to clean it up. Emma was washing dishes, Irene was drying. Pretty soon Irene said, Daddy, what'd you shoot at? I said, oh, a bobcat. Everything was still a little bit. Pretty soon it hit Emma. She said, a bobcat? What's a bobcat? And I told her. She said, bobcat, wildcat, bears. I'm not going to stay here. I said, well, you have to stay. I said, it's 64 miles down to Arizona anyway. She said, well, I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to stay here at all. So, I said, well, there's nothing here between here and there except outdoors. But I don't care. I'm not going to stay here. So I had to die. We drove in there, got there about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we passed. There's a police cruiser sitting in front of a restaurant over there, and the policeman and another guy sitting on a porch. I went down there, made a U-turn, come by there. He said, can I help you? I said, you sure can. Where can I park this damn thing? He said, you passed it on the way in. It's on your left now. I said, just go about 3/4 of a block, and then turn left. There's a parking space in there, and there's hydrant, everything, electric, everything. I pulled up there and I stopped. I told him, I said, now don't wake me up till I wake up. I'm going to stay here. So we went to sleep. So in the morning, we took off and we come on back to Oklahoma. Well, 101 was a thing of the past. Everything was desolation. And I couldn't believe it. I came back, and
What did you
it was
find?
1950.
Oh, I see.
And so we got back here, and I asked Herb Shaw, as Secretary of Chamber of Commerce. I knew a lot of people here. So I belonged to Legion and everything here. So I went up to Herb's office, and I asked Herb, and we talked with Herb. I said, whatever happened to Zach Miller? You see, Mr. Joe and I were sitting on the front porch, on the south porch of the White House. And this was after the show went broke and everything went under. So,
What caused that, Mike?
well, it's a long story behind that.
Well, I've heard
Dome.
different stories about
Well,
it. Was the
Teapot
reason I
Dome
wondered.
scandal was one of them. Oil, and of course other things. That depression went on. They had to borrow money and operate on and all that. So anyway, I asked Herb. I said, "Where's Zach?" And George and Joe were both gone. He said, "Well, Mike," he said, "I hate to tell you, but," he said, "if you go down South First Street, you'll see a little hole in the wall over there. He's got a little Indian curio shop down there." So I went down. Paul was with me, my boy, who was back here on the visit. So we went down there, and I stopped. I looked, and I couldn't believe my eyes. He had his big slouch hat on. He was sitting within a steer horn chair made out of steer horns, with his back toward the door, and he reading the paper. And I stopped, and I looked at him a little bit. Pretty soon I said, "Hello, Mr. Zach." He never turned around at all, never let up on his paper. He said, "Hello, Shorty, come on in." So we went in. I introduced my son to him. And I said, "Mr. Zach," I said, "how did you know it was me?" He said, "I never forget a voice." So that's what I found. a person I couldn't believe that a person that could cash a check for $10,000-15,000 without any
put
question,
together a
anything
show
else.
like-
Yeah, put together a show and
Like he
everything,
did.
and there he was down. So we had, now this organization that I have here, this 101 Ranch Old Timers Association,
And you're
is
president of that,
the
aren't you, Mike?
the forerunner of this organization was the CSCPA, the Cherokee Strip Cowpunchers Association.
Yeah.
It went under in 1937. That was the last. So in 1968, I was sitting in the Chamber of Commerce office with Garrett Muchmore and Bob Long and I. I was talking about old times like we are now. And Bob said, boy, wouldn't it be nice if we could get some of those old timers back here again? And Garrett Muchmore said, well, he said, Mike is a guy that can do it. He knows them. So Bob said, well, why don't we do that? Garrett said, well, if you can do it, he said, I'll finance it. So I said, okay. So I wrote some letters to the different ones that I knew where they were and their addresses and so on. The result was that in 1968, when we reorganized, we had 36 people here. It's the first time. So then we decided the Rodeo Foundation took it over, that they were going to, along with it. So they furnished the finances for the chuck wagon dinner, all that, and furnished the tickets for the rodeo for the old timers. So we went along fine, and it grew to, you see the mailing list on there. I mail out anywhere around 127 letters every year to notify them of the meeting, of the get together here. So I lose approximately about 4 or 5 a year of the old timers, because they're all up practically in my age. Some of them a little younger, some of them maybe a little older. I am the oldest living cowboy here locally of the 101 Ranch Wild West Show.
Tell us about some of your contemporaries on the ranch, some that were there when you were there.
Well,
Some of the ones that we later kind of heard about.
well, I'll tell you what. Now, in 1910, see, we was in Los Angeles. That time was Universal City. I mean, where the pictures was made, was Universal City in Pathé Film Outfit. Well, Universal City is where we started a picture that winter of the 101 Ranch. Then we decided that the locality up there wasn't suitable for the 101 Ranch picture, so we moved the equipment, everything from Hollywood, well, it wasn't Hollywood then, it was like I say, Universal City. There was no Beverly Hills or anything. We moved down here on the ranch, and we finished the Bison Film Company. If you have in the archives of the University of Oklahoma, is I think the original Bison film that was made in 1910. Now the characters that were in there at that time, Tom Mix, Jack Hoxie, Leonard Stroud, Bill Pickett, and
Now,
Hood Gibson, and
were those from the ranch or from Hollywood?
they were from the ranch. Now Mix was from Hollywood. Mix wasn't a cowboy on 101. No, he was a movie man. He was related to a movie actor. So when the show left, well, a lot of them when they show the film outfit. By the way, this man here, these two men on here, were cameramen in 1910. They live in LaGrange, Georgia now. But Morgan, Will Morgan, say, LaGrange, Georgia, Bison Film, 1910. And another one over here, Cleveland, C.L. Cleveland, say, LaGrange, Georgia, Bison Film, 1910. They were cameramen for the Bison Film. They were the cameramen. So they went back, went to Hollywood. Some of them went, Tommy Grimes, Bud Osborne, all of them. Bud Osborne, Tommy Grimes passed away. By the way, Tammy Grimes is his daughter. Yeah. And so the only one actually that went with us at that time was that's still alive is Bud Osborne. He's still alive. You'll see reruns of pictures of him driving stagecoach or acting the sheriff or something. But that's Bud Osborne. I went out there, and of course, at that time we didn't have Blue Cross and Blue Shield. We didn't have no insurance. And now in our game, you couldn't get insurance. No insurance company would insure you because there was too much accidents and stuff. Too much chance of getting hurt.
Were you doing your roping tricks now for the
No.
movie?
No.
I mean, for the picture?
Over here for the Bison I was, yeah. Lucille Mulhall and Goldie St. Clair also roped in there in Chester Bar.
Mulhall. She was
We'll come to it.
all right.
So anyway, I went out there, and at that time you had to buck the extra board. You know what extra board is? Well, if you need extras, why, they'll call. It was a call board. So only time that they ever had any work out there is when they had the big group of outlaws or rustlers or something going. They had to have a big posse and all that stuff. Well, that was once, I think I was in 4 different pictures out there at that time. And that time you got $5 a day. And if you got shot off a horse by an Indian or outlaw or something, why, that's $5. But if you broke your arm or something, you had to take your own care of your own doctor bill. So I was in about 4 pictures out there extra, and I thought, the heck with that, I'm going to leave. So I left there and come on back to ranch. But like I say, things from then on was downhill, and when we started downhill,
Depression was on too.
we had in this picture, when we took this picture in 1910, the directors wanted a cowgirl also, trick roper in this thing. Well, there was only 2 that we knew of at that time that were what we call pro ropers. There was others, trick ropers, but then a few that could rope. But there was 2 real pros. One of them was Lucille Mulhall, and the other one was Goldie St. Clair, Bernie St. Clair's wife. And so we decided it's going to be between Lucille and Goldie. So we was practicing right behind that tack house, that red barn over there. On the other side is a door, and had 3 steps going up into the tack room where we kept our saddles and stuff downstairs. So we decided it would be Lucille and Goldie, and one of them. So they said, they'll let you cowboys be the judges. So we flipped the coin, and Lucille called heads, and it come tails, so she lost. So it was Goldie. Goldie started out, and Goldie said Goldie was going to start. She said, "No," she said, "I'm gonna be a lady about it." Said, "Lucille, you do yours first." I'll let you have your glory. So Lucille got up and she started her trick roping. Now there's a difference between trick roping and rope spinning. See, trick roping is when you're catching something with a rope. Rope spinning is when you're spinning and jumping through it and things like that. That's the difference between them. A lot of people think that trick roping is one and the same, but it's not. So anyway, Lucille started, and when she finished, why, she sat down on the steps in the tack room, in front of the tack room. So then Goldie got up and started her little powwow with a rope. She was good. And finally she laid down her little ropes and she picked up the 50-foot rope and she started to spin a cowboy wedding ring around her. Well, the rope got pretty close to Lucille. Lucille sitting there on the steps with her leg crossed, and had her boots on. And when the rope, Goldie's rope, gets close to her, she just raised her boot up and break the loop, see? So Goldie dropped it down the first time. And she started again. And Lucille put her foot up and broke it down again. Goldie dropped the rope and reached over and got 2 hands full of Lucille's hair. And Lucille got hers, and they started going round and round, scratching and pawing and pulling hair, and finally rolling on the ground. They tore the shirtwaists off one another, laying there all bloody and dirty and filthy, all the television. So Tommy Grimes said, "Good God," he said, "those women are going to kill one another." He said, "I'm going to separate them." And Bernie St. Clair put his hand out. He said, "Wait just a damn minute. That's my wife over there. You let her fight. Let her fight. Well, she'll give in after a while. One of them will." So they fought till they couldn't fight no more, and just flopped over on their back and lay there. We had a 30-foot round concrete water trough down in the ground and sticking about that high above the ground. So Bernie went over there and he picked up Goldie and took her over there and threw her in that daggone trough. The cowboys grabbed Lucille and threw her in. So every time Goldie clawed at the side trying to get a hold of it, handhold on it, Bernie pushed her under. "Ah, you're still dirty. Get under there." So anyway, Goldie got the part of the rope, and Lucille was so mad that she got on her horse and rode the Mohawk and went to her ranch when they were Daddy's ranch. And she quit. She wouldn't mess with it. But that's some of the highlights. Of course, Jack Hoxie and Jack Mulhall, all them, they were on Hoot Gibson, Wayne Morse, and a lot of others were on there.
Well,
Who went to Hollywood and eventually become stars, Hollywood stars.
Well, Mulhall really was the first woman to work with those 101.
Yeah, Lucille Mulhall was the first woman world champion steer roper.
Mm-hmm.
She roped the coyote for Teddy Roosevelt on the ranch, on the Mulhall Ranch.
Oh, he
Teddy
did
Roosevelt never was over there at Zach Mulhall's ranch, and Lucille was with him, and the coyote jumped up, and Teddy said, just actually, Teddy Roosevelt said, "There goes something for you, rope it." She took after it and roped that damn coyote for Teddy Roosevelt. By the way, all the wallpaper that was in that White House was presented by Theodore Roosevelt, President Roosevelt. All the wallpaper that was in that White House. They got that White House just a little bit lopsided, the way that picture is on there. Now the driveway is there, but you can't see it good. But coming in from the north, a driveway from the north over there, come to an arbor, under an arbor over there. There's another door leads in from the driveway, led up the steps and into the White House.
when was this built, Mike?
Oh, it was built in 2 or 3, somewhere in there. It was already
By the
in
original,
operation, but we got there when I got
by the original George Miller,
Yeah, no, by the boys.
by the boys,
By the
three
boys.
boys.
Yeah, by the 3 boys. That's what that was built by.
Was there a sister?
Huh?
Was it just 3 boys, or
No,
was there a
there's
girl?
a sister. There's a sister. She's in,
Is she the one, Mrs. England?
yeah.
She's from Arkansas now.
Yeah, somewhere down in
We've
there.
been trying to locate her. We hope we get a tape with her when she came to the city, but we haven't been able to locate her yet.
We, by the way, if you go out here by IOOF Cemetery, you'll be able to see, you'll go the exact where Joe and George are buried out there, and Mrs. England's, their sister, has got a, that's also, they got a big, well, they got a big monument over there, tombstone. And then they have the 2 graves side by side, George and Joe, and a grave, a space for a grave vacant in the middle, and it has her initials on it, on the stone over there. That's where she's going to be buried. That's the England.
What was her given name? I've heard it, but
Oh, I have, I know it like a book, but I just couldn't think of it at all.
I just know she married in England.
Yeah.
Were
Yeah.
the England Ponca City people?
Yeah.
They live here.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could get their address from
You
them.
could. Oh, you'll get it from George. George Miller. George Miller has got her address, so there's Joe.
They say she comes to the city frequently, and we hope
Yeah,
we can get her there.
yeah. Oh, yeah, she's been interviewed down there several times.
Tell
Yeah.
us some more about the Millers as you knew them.
Well,
You told us
to
about
me they were,
Mr. Zach after
Yeah.
the failure of
yeah. To me, all 3 of them, well, of course, you know what I mean. I was a peon. I was a nobody. I was just
even
one
with
of
your
that.
oak tree.
I was just a hand
Yeah.
to them.
Hundreds were, I guess.
Yeah, everybody else, not only me, we were show hands, and that's all. See, but now Mr. Joe and I got along with all 3 of them. There was nothing, any time that I wanted, just like for instance that saddle I wanted to take to Europe. We were sitting on the south porch over there, talking with Mr. Joe and I, and we were talking about this trip to Europe. And I said, I've got that old R.T. Fraser saddle over there, and I'd like to have a new saddle to go over in Europe. We didn't know England, the route sheet was made up for us. And he said, well, why don't you get one? I said, well, Mr. Joe, I don't know where to get one. He said, well, just wait a minute. So he went in and brought out the Al First Note Saddle Company folder from Miles City, Montana. And he showed me real saddle pictures, saddles in there. And I said, I sure like this one. It had silver corner ornaments on. Miles City, Montana. And he showed me real saddle pictures, saddles in there. And I said, I sure like this one. It had silver corner ornaments on, and silver conchos, and silver horn cap, and it was all engraved in wild prairie rose engraving, all beautiful thing. But it cost $175. Of course, the money was $175, big stuff those days. So I said, boy, I sure like that. He said, why didn't you order it? I said, Mr. Miller, I don't have that kind of money. He said, oh, your credit's good at our bank. He said, "Oh, that you want it? I'll order it for you. Do you want a 14-inch reel or 15?" Well, I said, if I'm going to use it for trick roping, I'm going to have a 15-inch reel. I said, okay, so he ordered it. So, where did I evolve? Oh, about the saddle.
About the saddle.
Yeah. So, I got the saddle, and that's the saddle that I had lost in England. Oh, we have a lot of memories, a lot of old memories, and different ones worked with, different things are done. I have a real good friend of mine out of Grand Ronde, Oregon, Hank Darnell, and his wife, Belinda. They're wonderful people. I had a lot of wonderful friends on the ranch. But it seemed like, of course, a lot of them are gone. For instance, Jack Hawks is gone, Hood Gibson is gone, Leonard Stroud is gone, Tom Mix is gone, Will Rogers is gone. By the way,
Tell us about Will.
Will Rogers and Bill Rogers was with the Ziegfeld Follies. Well, I was at Logansport, Indiana, putting on a show, and Will knew I was there. He came in anyway. He said, "What are you doing over here?" He said, "In this Penny Annie stuff. Come on over with me." And said, "We'll go down and get you on Ziegfeld." He said, "We're going to play the Orpheum." I said, "No, hell," I said, "Will, that's too big for me." He said, "Oh, it's too big like a Dickens. You're from Oakey, ain't you?" I said, "Yeah, well, come on, let's go." He said, "Pack up your junk and leave this outfit." I said, "I got a contract." He said, "I'll buy it. How much a contract?" I said, "You tell them, not me. Don't talk to me about it. Talk to them." So he went over and talked to him and said, "Yeah, we'll let him go." So we went down, and I went down to New York and got on the Orpheum Circuit down there that Ziegfeld Follies was on. So Will would do his stunts, see, and then he'd go back, he'd bow out, and he'd take a rest, go back and get a cup of coffee or a swig of liquor or something, moonshine. And I'd get on the stage and do my stuff with the girls dancing back there. And finally, Will would come in the wing and he'd motion, and I'd say, "Oh." So I'd bow out and Will come back on. And well, he said, "Well, that rascal," he said, "he's a pretty good roper," but he said he ain't as good as I am because I can spin 3 of them. He only spins 2. So anyway, he studied. So one night we was closing, the one after that night show we had, it was closing, and Flo was having some trouble with the chorus girls over there. Some of them was talking the others into quitting and all that stuff and killing the show. So we was walking off the stage, Will and I, and Flo said to Will, he said, "Hey, Will," said, "I'm having trouble with these girls. What do you advise me to do about it?" Will threw on his shirt and he looked back. He said, "Well, Flo, I'll tell you." He said, "It's your baby. You sleep with it." We went on off the stage. So, those are the characters that were. That was
Were you with the Orpheum Circuit?
in 1921. In
How long
21.
did you stay with us?
Oh, I only stayed with them about 6 months, and I quit. Will was too much for me. He's too wild. He'd go out and make remarks like he did, I couldn't go for that stuff. Some of those remarks he made was pretty touchy a subject on these congressmen and all the presidents and all that. I told him, I said, you're going to step on your toe one of these days. You're going to get in Dutch. He said, Shorty, he said, they can't come back at me. It's in the newspaper. They have to get the newspaper people, sue them first before they get to me. By that time, they won't be finished.
Well, did you try the commentary and the stories along with your roping, or did you just do the roping?
Oh, I used to make little tricks, like, for instance, a rope over there, and I'd lay down with it and spin the rope. I used to do this in England to get paid for it, but I couldn't make much on it, so that's why I'm almost starved to death. I make little commentary, little quips and stuff that kind of get the people
You didn't try to go
laughing.
into politics
Then
like Bill did.
Then some people was in pretty close to the front, and I'd see maybe a child or somebody, you know. I always had about 3 or 4 of these little spinning ropes of mine that I have swivel on, say, and I'd swivel, anybody could spin it, so I'd spin over, pretty soon look down there and see some little girl or little boy sitting over there. I'd say, come up here, honey, and I'll teach you how to spin this thing, silly thing. And they'd get them up there on the stage, and I'd show them, now, you and I are going to get married. This is a ring. Put this on your finger. And people laugh. Pretty soon, she'd be there all by herself, spinning that silly rope. Yeah, the people all applaud. Yeah, we had that little thing. I still use that with my ropers over here. See, I got a class of about 26 little rascals, 4-H club. It's 101 range riders 4-H club. We're going to rope at the rodeo Saturday night. We always do, every Saturday night pre-entry.
You are?
They go out, generally I give them $5 first prize and $4 second prize and $3 third prize, and then give each one of them from then on $2 each for being all there.
Now that's in this organization.
Yeah, that's the offspring of this one. Yeah, they belong to, it's 101 range riders 4-H club.
I
It's a
see.
4-H club.
These are the youngsters.
Yeah, they're anywhere from so high up to 14, 15-year-old. They'll all be out there standing up there.
Are they pretty good ropers?
Oh yeah, I got some pretty good salty ones in there. Yeah, they're pretty
And
good.
you're their
little ropers.
instructor.
I'm their instructor. I always start them out with a little loop. I told them, I said, now, you don't use your arm and spin on the rope. You use your wrist. So get that wrist in action. So, oh, by the way, I was this year, 4th of July, we had a family reunion in Washington, Pennsylvania. I have friends of ours, dear friends of ours that live in Lorain, Ohio, Mr. and Mrs. Carl Cunningham, Carl and Mary. So my nephew, Jim Sokoll from Washington, PA, wrote me a letter last spring, an idea that be nice to have a family reunion. Well, some of those kids weren't born when I was there, and then some of them were born and married and gone and have kids and all that stuff. So we talked it over at Cunningham. They thought it'd be a good idea.
Now this was your family.
Yeah. So well, my wife's family also, some of my wife's kinfolks and mine. So I wrote Jim and told him that it'd be good. He said, well, let's make a date. I suggested 4th of July, and he said, no, let's make it 3rd of July because the caterer that was going to cater the party would is also the parade chairman and all that for 4th of July celebration, so he couldn't do nothing for it, so we had it on the 3rd of July. And we went down there. I went down, and some of them, some of them come from, one of them lives just north of San Francisco. They flew in and had them over there. Had about 36 of those Glasgow over there. Nephews and nieces and all that stuff. And we had quite a party, quite a picnic down there. And I don't know, it's nice to see them, but you know, it's always sad when you have to leave, because you get up around my age, you don't know. Of course, youngsters kick off just as quick as the oldsters now. There's as many heart failures among youngsters as there is between older ones. Look at Elvis Presley, for instance. You can't tell. So it seemed like maybe it's the last time you'll ever see them. I just told Jim, I said, we should have had this last year instead of now. Then my wife could have been, Emma could have been here. See, she passed away August 4th, a year ago now. So it,
Well, at the family reunion, do you renew your old rope tricks or anything like that?
Yeah, we ain't
I
got
wondered if
roping.
that wasn't the entertainment.
Yeah, that was the entertainment. They had me down at the racetrack down there doing roping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have mutual races down there, horse races. And they had me down there. They introduced me to a guy, and they had a rope in the car. So he wanted to know if I'd go out there in the infield and do a little roping for the audience while he was getting the horses ready. So I went out there and put them on a little show. I like to entertain people. You know, these kids of mine, what we do before, see, you know how children are, they're reluctant to practice. You tell them to practice, but they practice when they're kids. So what I do is this. Every week before rodeo time, we visit all the rest homes all over, not only in Ponca.
And they put on the show.
But they put on the show.
Now
And they
that's
go
their
out and practice they've gone, put on the show for the old folks in the rest homes, and that way they have to besides knocking around with one another and roping one another, they have to go through their show. So that's the way I get them in the habit of roping, really doing their trick. Well, I'm glad that you folks came up. And
Well, it's been very nice.
I have,
I've been looking at this shirt you have on. Is it a specially designed one, or has the 101 on it?
yeah, a lady made this shirt for me special. Oh, it's been years ago, though.
Must
It's
have
getting worn out. And I've got another one that's a black one with white flowers all over it and everything. That's my...
Looks very much like a
Hey,
like a real
is
shirt.
it still raining out there? Where's them two girls?
I think they went to lunch.
Oh, well, if there was I've got some books, a couple of books that I've written.
Yes, tell us about the stories you've written.
And
Mike.
I
meant to ask
I
you about those.
I want to bring it down and give you a book. Give you a
Give us
setting.
the title of them and tell us
One
where
is,
they're sold.
you can't buy them anywhere except here in town, because they don't sell outside. I sell them. I got them in the car.
What year did you write your first one?
1973, and the other one's 75. 73 is
first
when I
one was
wrote
on
my
the-
history.
The first one was on the 101 ranch.
History of the Roping the 101. That's the title of it. Roping the
That's a
101.
good title.
Roping the 101.
And your second one was
and the
your
second
own.
one is stars that I've known,
Uh-huh.
stars that I've worked with.
Have we discussed most of the stars that
Let me
were
bring in a
outstanding?
book. Let me bring in a couple books. Shut that thing off.
Mike has gone to get his books. He wants us to see copies of those. In the meantime, he has left with me a coin. You know, the old 101 ranch had its own coinage, its own post office, its own stores. It was a complete little empire in itself. This is a copper coin about the size of, between a 50-cent piece and a quarter, I'd say. It has 3 stars at the bottom. Around the edges, it said 101 Ranch Store. In the center is 15 cents. That was the value of the coin. On the other side is a very active bucking horse with a rider. His hand waving in the air, his horse head down, pitching. It's an interesting coin, and it has been wonderfully preserved. There are only a few of these that we see anymore, and for that reason they are very unique. Mike hasn't yet returned with his books, but when he does, we'll get him to sign off on this. Mike has just returned with his books. The editor's note by Colonel Mike. You didn't say you were Colonel.
They dubbed me Colonel.
Oh,
Long time ago.
long time ago. Colonel Mike Sokoll. The editor's note says, to most people, one part of their lives stands out above all others. For some, it is a single incident. For others, a few weeks, months, or years. For many, it was the period during which they performed for the famous Miller Brothers 101 Ranch, real Wild West, and Great Far East, or worked on the equally famous ranch. Here is the story of one such performer, now retired, but still reliving in memory the vivid and exciting days on the 101. The ranch and show people came from all over the world, and this autobiography by Mike Sokoll, born in Hungary, while unique, is perhaps at the same time typical. And that is signed by Colonel Mike Sokoll, who has just been interviewed on this tape. His nickname was Shorty, and the first picture in the book shows him in his regalia of the 101 Ranch. I'm sure this will be an interesting little volume. It has many pictures in it of the old 101 Ranch, the old White House, the store, and other things. The other book, 101 Ranch Stars I Have Known, is indicated that it is Wild West rodeos, movies, cowboys, cowgirls, clowns, and announcers. So he has told you of some of these on the tape, and there perhaps are others that the book mentions that we didn't quite get in this time. I see a picture here of Chief Geronimo, taken in 1905 at Fort Sill. Mike, did you know him? Oh, I believe Mike's left us. I'm going to sign the tape off as we go through these books. It's been a pleasure to have Mike this morning. We've enjoyed him a lot, and I appreciate so much the organization, the 101 organization, and also the fact that Mike has given us the time, as busy as he is. He's given us the time for this tape. Please thank him for me, will you? Mike has returned now, and I'm going to get 2 more questions in. Mike, I saw a picture of Sally Rand in there. How does she tie up with the 101?
Well, that's a long story.
Oh?
Sally was a personal friend of Doubleday. And, of course, Sally done a little bit of show on the ranch at the White House for some of the big muckety-muck guests like how'd you call them that read the band, you know, yeah. Yeah. Well, Sousa, John Philip Sousa, and there was Harding and several other, President Harding and several others. She put show on at the White House. So her and Doubleday were pretty close related.
Now,
close
by
friends.
White House, you mean the big house
White
on the
House,
ranch in the 101.
yeah,
That's what the
yeah,
boys
yeah.
call the
That's
White
the
House.
That's the White House.
We don't mean Washington. We're talking
No,
about
no,
Oklahoma.
We don't mean Washington. We call our White House. Our White House, it's not in debt because it doesn't exist anymore. But so her and Doubleday, one day they were out riding. Doubleday had a set of Palomino ponies, just exactly alike, and he bought a silver-mounted set of saddles for him and Sally, exactly alike. So they rode up one day in front of that little store over there, and I was over there practicing roping, just juggling rope, messing around. So they got off their horses and stood there and was talking, and I was flipped a loop behind me, and I got Sally and Doubleday into a loop and pulled them together. So when she always wore shotgun chaps, see, and when she walked away from you, looked like a boy. So she was, one day she was turning around, she was walking away. I said, "Hey, Sonny." And she looked around. I said, "You." And she said, "Who the devil are you calling Sonny?" I said, "You." So after that, she got to be known as Sonny to me. So she was down playing in Oklahoma City, and that's the first time I found out about Sally being anywhere there. But by the time I found out...
Did she do her fan act there?
Yeah. By the time I found out that she was in Oklahoma City, why, it was in the middle of the week. It was on Thursday, and she was closing that Saturday, see? So I called in the afternoon, and the operator said, "Well, she won't be here till 8 o'clock. So I called about 20 minutes to 8, and the operator got her Sally's secretary, and she came. She answered the phone. She said, "Who'll I say calling?" I said, "Just tell her somebody from 101." So she did. Pretty soon, Sally come over and she said, "Hello." I said, "Hi, Sonny." She said, "Wait just a damn minute." She said, "I haven't been called that in 50 years. I said, "I know it. I gave you the name." I said, "You remember when you and Doubleday rode up in front of the store and I roped the two of you together?" She said, "Shorty?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where the hell are you?" I said, "I'm over here at Polka City." I said, "I've got a picture of you and Doubleday in front of the store in my book." She said, "Where'd you get that damn thing?" I said, That's a professional secret." And so I sent her book. So last Saturday morning I got a letter from her, and it was it's her itinerary, her trips, her assignment. So I didn't notice on the bottom, but I did notice, but I didn't pay attention. It was August 8th to September 30th. She's in Michigan. So I called her that evening, got the letter in the afternoon mail, and I called her that evening in Glendora, California. And I
She
said,
still goes under the name of Sally Rand, doesn't
yeah,
she?
yeah. So I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm packing. I said, packing for what? She said, didn't you get my itinerary? I said, yeah. She said, well, you didn't look on the bottom because I'm opening Monday at, some town in Michigan. So she's going to be there. I said, well, how you feel? She said, oh, feel fine. You know what? I said, what? She said, day after tomorrow is my birthday. I said, 96? She said, oh, you idiot. It's 73. I said, well, that's good enough. That's close enough. So I said, oh, I got a favor to ask you. She said, what? I said, send me one of your old fans, put in the museum. She said, you know what we do with them, Shorty? She said, when we get a fan gets old, we turn them into the factory, and they take the good plumes out and throw the carcass away, and we make new. They said they cost me $500 a pair. I said, I didn't ask you how much they cost you. I said, I want one. She said, I don't have any, but she said, I'll tell you what I'll do as soon as I get back to Glendora. And I'll get you a bunch of pictures and I'll send it to you.
Good.
I said, good enough. So she's going to send some pictures down here about October. See, this is
Well, that'll be quite an addition for your museum.
7. Yeah. These are copyrighted and autographed books
Oh, thank you.
and numbered.
That's wonderful. Mike, I noticed a picture of Geronimo in your book.
Yeah.
Where did you come across him? When you were at Fort Sill?
So
In the Army?
Geronimo
Or?
was loaned to us by the government for the show
Oh, he was with
on
you.
the ranch. Yeah, he was loaned. Now he was loaned to the ranch for a time being for exhibition out there. He was on the ranch for a while, but he didn't. Well, he's all old and feeble and all that. He just had that picture in there of Geronimo. That picture in the blanket
Yeah.
is more actual Geronimo than the Geronimo sitting in the Buick with a top hat on.
Yeah.
See, the picture in the picture with the blanket was an older picture, and
That was
wasn't-
more really like him,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah. And it wasn't set up for a show picture. This other one was in the Buick, but the other one he wasn't used. It was just a picture taken of him over at the at Fort Sill Reservation
When he was there.
with his blanket.
Well,
Yeah.
this has been a most interesting time for me. Mike, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's
Well, I'll tell you what.
it's something that we'll be very proud of, Mike,
You know what?
in our collection of tapes for our archives, and thank you again.
You know what? Garrett much more told me about before I published his book. This is the first book I published in '73. He said, you know what's going to happen, Mike? All the history of this country will be gone when you and a couple more of you be gone. All this history will be gone. And
We're
he said,
working as hard as we can to get them, but we're losing. We're losing right now.
Why don't you, he said, do something to write a story, write the history of your life, write the history of the ranch that you knew as you knew it. And he said, let the younger generation get an
That's
idea
right.
of what went on over here. Well, so I started, and this is the first edition to put out. This is the guy that taught me how to rope, Joe
That's
Barrero.
interesting.
And this is, here, there's Sam, Henry Grammer and Fred Beeson. I roped with all those guys. We used to have Sunday roping. This is a big four that I rope with. Now this is Tex McLeod. He died in London, England, Birmingham, England. That's where he lived. And this is Chester Byers from Fort Worth. He passed away. This one lives in Fallsburg, California. That's Sam Garrett. And this is Hank Darnell. He's in the Grand Ronde, Oregon. But he's crippled. Sam is he's still operating the ranch.
I know those bring back lots of memories to you,
Oh, yeah.
Mike.
And
Well,
this
thanks.
horse here, this horse, Comanche, I had to ride that horse every day for Zag before he get on, for the big top.
Oh.
Because, see, when you go in the big top,
He was too fresh, was that it?
when you went in the big top, well, you had to have him and put on the show. And he was a little frisky, so I'd take the king side of him. Well, I wouldn't buck or anything, but just run him around a while, and then there's Bill Pickett, originally a bulldog. Now this is what I told
You didn't tell us
about that White House over there.
Yeah.
See? Now this is the original picture of the White House. Here's that alcove, see,
Yeah,
that
that's
you
right.
drive through coming from
Yeah.
the north in there. See? Coming through in here. And this is the White House as it was.
Tell us about Bill Pickett. I forgot to ask you about him.
Well, Bill was a very shy person. I mean, wasn't shy, but pleasant
Reserved,
person. He was reserved, you know. He was, he was the kind of a person that he wasn't butting in on everything. He's a colored person of the old colored school. When he come up and talk to you, he'd take his hat off. See? And when he, in the presence of a lady or anything, before he ever go near the presence of a lady, he'd take his hat off. See? That's the kind of take his hat off. See? And when he, in the presence of a lady or anything, before he ever go near the presence of a lady, he'd take his hat off. See? That's the kind of people they were. Here's us building this house trailer. And so Bill and I were pretty close. We were pretty friendly, sociable. And this guy's saddle, that's a one-legged cowboy. He lost his left leg at the knee in World War I. He broke Bronx with 101, Irvin Farrell. So when he came back from war, he contrived this. See that boot on that saddle? That's where he stubbed. And he got on the Bronx with crutches.
And what was his name?
Irvin Farrell. There he is right there, Irvin A. Farrell. And so he's buried out here. He died about 4 years ago. I helped to bury him out here. And see, there's 3 graves over there. There was a grave for Irvin, one for Mary, his wife, and another one was for, I think, her sister or her sister. But anyway, she passed away. But Mary is down at Silsbee, Texas, and she's going to live there, and she's going to die there, see? So she gave these 2 lots, graves, next to Urban, gave it to Emma and I. And Emma is buried out there next to Urban Farrell.
Now, is this the cemetery on the The old 101
No.
cemetery,
No.
or is that the Ponca
No,
City?
This is the Ponca, this is IOOF cemetery.
I noticed that they had one they called Cowboy Hill Cemetery.
That's up where Zach is buried.
Yes,
That's where Zach is buried.
yeah. But there
And
was
This is my roping patch.
there was several where they're not buried there.
There was 3 of them buried there. This guy is buried there also. Here,
Uh-huh.
he's buried
Webb,
up there
Jack
too.
Webb.
Jack Webb, yeah,
Mhm.
Jack Webb's buried up there, and Sam Stiegel's buried up there. That's all that's buried up there.
Well, Mike, I've kept you way past lunchtime, and I know you're hungry.
Yeah,
But
I
thanks
am
again.
hungry,
Thanks
but I'm
again.
afraid to go out in the rain.
well,
By the time
Well,
I
we'll have
get
to do
back, I'll
something.
be starved again. So what's the difference? I just want to starve. Well, you got any lunch left for me over there?
This is Mary B. Roberts signing off. A very interesting interview
Holy cow.
with Mike Sokoll of Ponca City. This is the end of the interview. Thank you very much, Mike.